Beef O'Brady's is where game time and family time happen all the time. Where comfort food and comfortable prices are as regular as our regulars. Join Team O'Brady's at beefobradys.com and get a free starter. See you at Beef's.
Bargain Bites has a huge supply of refurbished electronics. They're a Microsoft authorized refurbisher. Just look at this. Computers as low as $100 and a wide variety of electronics, all so affordable. Look at these deals. A Dell 4-core laptop, fully tested, only $200. A MacBook, fully tested and ready to go, only $200. Subscribe to the Bargain Bites YouTube channel and get all sorts of great tips from super technician Brendan. Bargain Bites, just east of the airport off Benson Road. Visit them today online at bargainbites.net.
Welcome, folks, to our 2015 season wrap-up for the South Dakota High School Soccer AA Girls Division. I want to welcome Coach Jacob Shoup, new coach at Brandon Valley.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
And last year's 2014 Elite 11 Coach of the Year, Steve Burckhalter of Sioux Falls Lincoln. You know, I'm not only surrounded by good-looking guys, but great coaches. So this is a great night for me. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, thank you.
Let's just talk a little bit about the season. We're here at Beef O'Brady's, and we want to thank Beef O'Brady's, as always, for the warm hospitality they always give soccer, and that they always give Soccer 605. We've done these shows here. This is our second year doing them. Great place, and it's close to Yankton Trails.
Right, perfect.
Great place to come up after the games.
Yeah, it's a nice setup.
Yeah, it is a nice setup. Great place to bring the team for a meal, too. So.
That's right.
Anyway, we appreciate their hospitality here and letting us use this nice room for the show tonight. Let's talk a little bit about the season in general, how it went overall. Any comments you have? What worked really well this year, do you think, Steve?
Well, I mean, speaking specifically for Lincoln, I think just trying to stay with the formula that's worked in the past. I mean, just trying to get the kids better at soccer and see if we can be better by the end of the year than we were at the beginning of the year.
And once again, you were this year.
I felt like it, yeah. Made some improvements.
You've got a reputation for your team getting progressively better.
Hopefully that's the direction you go.
Yeah, that's right. And, and
this guy here, he definitely had that happen, so.
Brand new to the program this year, but you're not new to soccer. We go back a few years.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Actually, Randy was one of my first club coaches.
That explains some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I had you on a rec team for a while.
Oh, I'm sure you did. I'm sure you did. Yeah.
And then you played at USF.
Played at USF, yep. And then I played my high school soccer in Pierre. And played at USF. So yeah, it's good to be back in the game for the first time in a while, competitively. So yeah, it was a lot of fun this year. The biggest thing for us was just kind of getting them the mindset different for the girls. Getting them expecting to win and desiring to win rather than just being okay with losing not bad.
In talking with both Grace Bender and Melanie Pelletier after one of your games.
I think it was our first
game
against Lincoln.
Yeah, they both mentioned that they're no longer satisfied
we had that conversation. I remember after our first game, just going into our first 2 weeks of practice, you could kind of tell that it was just kind of a new thing for us to really go into a game expecting to win.
Yes.
And I remember after we lost to Lincoln, it was 3-1, I believe, in the first game, and we played well for our first game, but I remember them being excited that we only lost 3-1.
Yep.
And so we had that conversation after the game that, we can be proud of the way that we played, but we never want to be satisfied with just losing, not a bad loss because, we always want a desire to win. And so I think right away they were kind of like, well, wait, we only lost 3-1 to the defending champs, but it was kind of shifting that mindset. And then you could kind of see it halfway through the season already when we tied O'Gorman. They didn't want to lose that game. They weren't satisfied with losing against a team like O'Gorman or any of the top teams. And so it was kind of cool to see that shift in mindset.
It was fun to see them believing more and more as the season went on.
Yep.
And you guys obviously had a great season. Pull this up real quick and look and see. Wound up finishing, what was it?
We were 11th, I believe.
11th.
I think we had 5 wins.
Yep,
something
5,
like
7, and 1.
that. I think so.
Yeah, nice improvement from previous years in the playoffs. So,
It's always good to make the playoffs.
It is always
Yeah,
good. You know, it's
definitely.
been overall, I think, for all the teams, it's been a great season. We had those opening games that were all postponed for rain, but other than that, we had nice weather this year for the games.
Weather's been outstanding.
Yeah, definitely.
I think what you saw on the AA girls was a lot of parity. I felt like, you know, from some of the years, and I've been coaching, I think this was my 7th year, there would occasionally be a game you could just, I wouldn't say you could take off, but you just felt like it was a sure win, which you don't really want that because that doesn't necessarily help
Right.
your team or the other team. And I really felt like this year there was all the games were very competitive and you know, and again, if it's a change in mindset or if it's that the talent's gotten better, there's probably a combination, but that really helps when you get to the postseason play that you played good competition all the way through. No off nights.
Yeah, and I think I had this conversation with both you and Randy this year, but even when I was in high school, which was 10 years ago, you know, there were schools like Watertown, for example, Brookings, that were just starting their soccer programs at the high school level. And it's just amazing to see how far, you know, they've come, both girls and guys program. I mean, Brookings, the guys, you know, I haven't really kept track of how teams have been doing the last 5 years, so I don't know if this is new or not, but they made it to the semifinals this year, and for me that was like, wow, you know, I remember playing Brookings in high school, and they just, their program hadn't gotten to a place where I would ever think they would make it that far. And you know, you think of some of the smaller towns, the non-Sioux Falls and non-Rapid cities, and like Huron, for example, had a great boys team this year.
Yep.
And so, and
Pier
the girls,
girls,
the Pier girls, and even the Huron girls, you know, they're continuing to develop, and so it's really cool to just to see the growth of the sport throughout the state, I think.
It is. And you know, and let's not forget the officials. They've really been working hard to get the officials more training, more opportunities to be challenged. You know, the biggest challenge that we have now is the number of officials that are qualified to do high school, because with all the games going on Tuesday and Thursday for the most part, all at the same time, there's a lot of demands on referees across the state. But, you know, hats off to them. They've been working hard, and, you know, Guy McNeely, who heads up the committee there, we've got some Tom Hilsendegger, Chad Landis, they've all been working hard. Kevin Messman, that have all been working really hard to get the referees up and better prepared for the games. And I think that's one of the things you see as the players get better, the coaches have to get better, the referees have to get better.
Well, I think that's, you know, the referees do a great job. I mean, and we don't have a game if we don't have officials.
Yep.
And so sometimes we, you know, maybe take them for granted, but I think it's important that we recognize their efforts. They're very professional. You know, they're not perfect, but neither is any player or any coach, so we don't expect them to be perfect, but we can also see that they're working out what they're doing at their craft. And that's important to the players. I mean, the growth of the game is going to be largely dependent upon how many quality referees we can put out there. And we had a lot of them this year.
We really did.
You know, and you know, maybe it's a little bit of maturity on my part, but I don't feel like, from my perspective, that I spend as much time focusing on the referees as maybe I did in the past. And that's, again, I think a credit to the quality that they're producing.
And the fact you're around the game more, as you mentioned, and you start to realize that, boy, it doesn't happen very often where a referee determines the outcome of the game. It can, but for the most part, you just got to play the game.
That's right.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about your season specifically. Let's start with your changes that you've done out there in Brandon Valley.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit already. It was a lot of just changing the mindset from the beginning, you know. The girls and I have already had this conversation, but I remember we had a camp about halfway through the summer, and it was kind of my first interaction with the girls. And we had our first night, and I remember going home to my wife, and I sat down at the kitchen table. I was like, man, I don't know what I got myself into. And it was just kind of realizing the amount of work that it was going to take to get us to be competitive against teams, you know, in Sioux Falls, because I knew the talent level in Sioux Falls for sure, and of course in Pierre and Aberdeen, I knew the type of teams that were going to play. And we actually had a scrimmage the first game of the year, or not, I'm sorry, not the first game. We scrimmaged, I think, Sioux Falls Roosevelt and Sioux Falls Washington. And
and that...
and that referee jamboree or whatever it was.
Jamboree, there we go.
And we played just awful. And that, I mean, that was a week before our first game against Lincoln. And I think we played for 20 minutes and they both beat us like 3-0 or something like that. And it was that week we had some really great practices kind of leading up to that first game. And I just think that from day one, you think about that camp to us, the last game in the playoffs where we lost to Lincoln in the first round. I think we just showed a lot of improvement. Especially defensively, we kind of realized our identity was going to be a defensive team. We didn't have as probably much offensive threat as we would have liked to have, but we realized that teams are going to have to score on us to beat us. And so we really played a defensive mindset, and we looked to counterattack, and we looked to score on set pieces, and the girls did a great job when we had set pieces to put them away, and on corner kicks, our girls did a great job of running to their spots and getting to where they need to be. And so just overall from the beginning to end, I couldn't be more happier. I couldn't be more happy for the way that we ended and the way that we progressed, because that's what you want to see. Like you said, you want to see just getting better from beginning to end, and I think that's what we saw.
Yeah, and we really noticed that your girls were going to the ball hard. Really putting forth the effort to get there first and to win that 50-50 ball.
Yeah.
And that was a nice change to see.
Yeah, and I remember we had that conversation in the first game against Lincoln too, is that we weren't winning any 50-50 balls, and that was kind of a stress point for us throughout the rest of the year. But yeah, we definitely, talent-wise, we probably weren't as good as some of the other teams, so we knew that we had to beat them effort-wise, and we had to beat them, at the 50-50 balls. And if we got beat by effort, then we didn't really have any chance. And there were a couple games where we did, and we went on a pretty substantial losing streak towards the end of the season. So yeah, that's going to be something for us moving forward, is kind of matching effort but also with tactics and ability on the field, and hopefully we can take the next step. So
well, yeah, we were just really impressed with the progress.
Definitely.
Let's talk a little bit about your season.
Okay, well, again, coming off of a state championship last year.
Target on your back.
People say a target on your back, so that's always something, and I think you do get a different kind of shot from the other teams when there's that you have kind of hanging over you. But as I like to say, we're not the same team. We had a lot of turnover, so it's really a different team that you're taking a shot at.
It really is.
And we had just a little bit of just sorting out where kids were going to play and who was going to take on what role. Some of them were the same. We had a new goalkeeper. We had at least two in the back line that were new, and a couple in the midfield, and a couple up top. So
now, as a coach, does that make you a little more nervous when your back line is pretty new?
I think it can. Although we still, again, we have good players, and they just needed to get their time together. So, and for me, I kind of like the challenge of having to kind of sort it out. So, what I would say is this group, they just definitely, we all like to think our teams work hard, but I think this team had a lot of chemistry. They worked really hard, and we're very coachable. And when I say that, if I would give them information, either in a practice or during a game, or they would take those little pieces, and I could see it kind of show up in the game. So that excites me. Yeah. And we get a lot of these players back next year. I lose a couple of kind of stalwarts in the midfield, but you always have to overcome some losses. So.
You still have a pretty young team, though.
Yeah, and to go out and
SU.
Yeah, to go out in penalty kicks at the end, I think disappointing to be done, but at the same time, there's a lot to build on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think it's ironic that, and I appreciate you guys being here, because you were in the quarterfinal against each other, and you progressed, then you went on to the semifinal, and so obviously both your teams have had a very, very good season, solid season. Well done. So let's take a quick break here from our sponsors and come back. Let's talk about some of those players that got you there.
Sure.
Getting recruited by college coaches is more difficult every year. There are thousands of other athletes competing for your position. MyPlayerPage.com is the best place for athletes to showcase their personal and player information. Check us out today at MyPlayerPage.com. Any sport, any athlete, any state, any city, champions all.
Welcome back, folks. We're talking girls AA high school soccer. It's always good to talk soccer, isn't it?
That's right.
I said this is one of our ways to deal with withdrawal from the season. We just talk about it a little bit longer. So. You know, we've kind of gone over your season, but let's talk a little bit about some of your players that really stood out for you. We'll start with Brandon Valley, and you know, obviously you had a great season, but there's some people that helped make that happen.
Yeah, we had some great effort up top for us, and Chloe Askdahl and Sam Taylor, Ari Stangor, Caitlin Gleggy all played up top for us. And we didn't you know, score a whole lot of goals this year, but just kind of seeing their development from the beginning of the season to the end was good to see. And just their efforts, you know, we kind of talked about up top too, that we were kind of going away from a high pressure, and we wanted to pull back a little bit and play more defensive mind. I know that was kind of hard for them to do because naturally they just want to go get the ball, and so they kind of bought into the system that we were trying to implement. And then in the midfield, you know, you have to start with Melanie Peltier. I mean, she is a great player.
Mel is really a nice player.
She is, and she's gonna be a great player at Bemidji, I believe,
Yes,
is where
Bemidji.
she's going. Yeah, she's just pretty much everything you can ask for in a central midfielder. I mean, she defends, she possesses the ball well, she's a threat to score, and so she was our leader out there throughout the season. And we kind of had some different girls play next to her. We had Allie Holm and Kenzie Gleggy that kind of started in that other central midfielder position. But then Marley Tacroni, who's a freshman this year, really started to come on towards the end of the year, and she started playing next to her. And
Freshman?
As freshman, yeah. So we ended up starting 3 freshmen this year.
Wow.
Towards the end of the season. So that would be Sam Taylor, Marley Tacroni, and Ashley Ask at defense. And all 3 of them just, I mean, to come from playing 8th grade soccer to playing at the varsity level was pretty amazing to see. But yeah, all 3 of those freshman girls played really well.
It always makes the future look bright.
Yeah, I mean, we hope so. We hope so. And then in the back, we had a great back 4 this year. It was anchored by Grace Bender and Maggie Lacey in the center, and they were just very solid for us. I remember there was one point in the middle of the year I tried to switch them. We played a sweeper system in the back, and so I tried to switch Grace and Maggie, and I was trying to get Grace more involved with possession, you know, with Mel in the center.
Grace does have nice foot
Oh
skills.
yeah,
Very nice
and so I felt like playing her back, you know, I wasn't getting her enough touches on the ball in the offense, and they played, it was against Harrisburg, and I think they tried it for about 10 minutes, and they yelled at me like, no, we're going back. And so
It is a player's game.
It is, yeah. So anyways, I mean, it worked out well for us because we didn't have the speed really to play a flat 4. And so, yeah, they did a great job in the center. And then Emma Bowes was a senior who had never really played defense before. She played a little bit, but was more used to playing outside midfielder, and she just, I mean, from beginning to end, she was probably one of the most improved players. I don't know how much she played last year, but she did a great job this year. There was never a point in the game where I ever thought that I was worried, you know, having her out there for someone who was a new defender. So she did a great job. And then Ashley Ask was another outside defender who's the freshman. And then Logan Mullet was another senior who came in and gave minutes at defense as well.
Great.
But those, I mean, our back 4 did a great job because we relied heavily on them, and they were getting pounded, you know, kind of over and over because we played a defensive style. And then lastly, Kiana Thielen, a great goalie this year, as we kind of discussed before. I kind of almost had to talk her into playing goalie this year.
And she's just a sophomore, right?
She's just a sophomore,
Wow.
yeah, and so she's pretty raw with her, you know, as far as being coached goalie-wise. Ashley Limmer did a great job of coaching her and kind of giving her the skill set to do so. But you know, she hasn't really played it a whole lot, so it was really just kind of just her aggressiveness that kind of took over. And I mean, she had some absolutely incredible saves this year.
She's got a good goalkeeper attitude.
Yeah,
too.
she does, and you know, there were some times where she definitely saved us in games that you know, our back 4 got beaten, or some long shots from the midfield, and she did a great job. So that was one of the coolest things, was to see her development throughout the year, especially because I don't want to say I forced her into that position, but I kind of had to have a sit-down talk with her and say, like, listen, this is what's best for our team, you know.
Yeah.
And so we narrowed the options, and she
Down to
realized
just one
that,
position?
Yeah, exactly. You have this choice, goalie. But she realized that it was going to be what's best for the team, and so she bought in, and she did a great job. So
Yeah, well, she faced, according to the stats, we have 115 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Saved 100
Yeah,
goals.
and I know that probably sounds like a lot, but we did have a lot of shots against us this year, so.
Well, 87% save percentage. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, she did well. She did well.
Yeah.
I remember seeing her early, and I think she gained more experience, and maybe she gave up some soft goals early, but then she started making all the routine saves, and then, like you said, some of the spectacular ones later.
And we talked.
That was a big difference for your team.
Yeah,
so she really did a nice job.
You did mention something to me after one of the games out there that you thought she did a really nice job.
Yep.
You know, with Bender and the leadership that Bender and Peltier provides, just huge.
Yeah.
Those two, I mean, a lot of times I would look at that game and I think I'm looking at two of the best players in the state right there on that team. So Bender's just so smooth and savvy in the back.
And where is she going to be playing?
Augustana.
That's right.
Which,
That's right.
you know, I mean,
Coach
I'm okay with that. I'm a USF guy. I always have to give her a hard time about it, a little bit, you know, but yeah, Grace and Mel, I mean, first of all, as a new coach taking over a program, to have those two to kind of build around the first year.
Yeah.
I
Nice
mean, that's, you can't really ask for much more, so they did a great job.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the Lady Patriots.
Okay, so we're starting from the front, right?
Yeah,
So I'll just
start with
kind of talk about a few of the forwards. You know, kind of the ones we have mainly were Madison Landon. Let's see, we had Molly Kelly, we had Michaela Moore, we had Molly Kirsten that time. She got injured late, but Britton Blount. Really, what you're looking at there, you know, we've got all soccer players. Not all of the kids play year-round soccer, but there's a couple that don't, but Michaela and Molly Kirsten, but very athletic kids, very coachable. So I felt like for us, you know, just a combination of speed and athleticism really kind of helped us up top.
And you only have a handful of seniors on your whole roster.
Yes, I only have a handful. Yep. So,
And Molly Kelly scored that beautiful goal in your semifinal.
yeah, Molly Kelly, you know,
Wow.
she really kind of
Isn't that
came.
nice?
Yeah, she really helped us out here late, and her work rate in the O'Gorman game was just phenomenal. So the goal she scored was a great goal, and she was composed and just finished it. So
She is another sophomore.
yeah, she's a sophomore. You know, Madison Landon actually had the most goals on the team this year, and then the last couple of games we dropped her into the midfield, and she scored goals from the midfield in the
She
previous
does have a
game.
nose for the goal.
Yeah, she got nose for the goal, and just she can play make a little bit, and you know, so she's been really a great player for us. In the midfield, you know, really the triangle that we kind of settled on at the end was Julie Tesla was in there all year, Jamie Sorensen, and then we ended up kind of playing a combination of Molly Kelly or Madison Landon. That was what we ended up with at the end. And what I'd say about those two specifically, the two seniors, Julie and Jamie, I don't think there's a better combination in the state as far as winning balls in the midfield. I mean, they're really aggressive in the air, and you know, they just gave us a presence.
Now, Julie's going to USD.
Julie's going to USD.
Is Jamie committed anywhere? Is she planning to play college soccer?
Jamie's not. I believe she's just going to go be a student.
That's
So,
what she was going to be doing.
But you know, and Julie was last year's. She was the player of the game in the state final last year. So, you know, they just had a lot of experience. And in the back, that was where we replaced a few players, but we had Kennedy Keller and Megan Landon at center back. And as outside backs, we kind of locked in late Abby Griffin and Molly Ferris. So
solid players.
Very solid players, you know, and they got more cohesive as the year went on. We used Lucy Deckinga in there at times as an outside back, but we basically kind of settled in on that back four starting and playing most of the minutes. So, and then of course you had Sydney.
Yeah, one of your best kept secrets because she played behind Maggie Smither.
Maggie, yeah, well, you know, Sydney had been injured as a young player, and she was the starter on the JV team last year. Kind of got some confidence back, and then she was a little bit of an unknown for us this year. But I really felt like Sydney was very solid for us.
She was.
You know, she started to make more of the routine saves, and she got stronger, and she was a presence. She's a great communicator. And I was really pleased with her. So.
And she was healthy all year long.
She stayed healthy.
That was great.
You know, and I think that, you know,
makes a difference.
When you come off of an injury, there is that period of time where you're still unsure, but she's definitely come back into her own. So I'm glad to see that. It's good for our team. We needed her.
And for both teams, any team, having a solid goalkeeper in the goal for you really is a confidence booster for the rest of the team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
And you don't get to the semifinals, you don't get as far as you did without good goalkeepers. And you know, they always will have a soft spot.
Yeah.
I'll have a soft spot in my heart for those goalkeepers.
Right. You know, and Sydney had, she had some really spectacular saves this year, and quick reaction saves, which until you see the kid in that environment, you're not sure really what they're going to be able to do. But I mean, she really, she had some big time saves for us.
Yeah.
Kept us in a few games that maybe would have gone the other way. So.
Never know.
Yeah.
Well, let's take another quick break, and we'll come back and talk about some of the other players across the state.
All right.
To create the best tasting food, you start with the freshest ingredients. Carefully selected and blended together in authentic recipes found nowhere else. Only the finest quality natural ingredients go into the food we prepare every day from scratch. The original Pancake House, the origin of great taste.
What are you preparing for? Do you have everything you need to play? Play It Again Sports has the new and quality used sports and fitness gear you need to get you in the game. We'll also pay you right on the spot for your quality used gear. Seasons change, but you'll never stop playing.
Are you ready to play?
Find your play at Play It Again Sports.
Welcome back. We're here at Beef O'Brady's talking AA Girls Soccer, here with Coach Jacob Shoup and Coach Steve Burckhalter. It's been fun talking so far about your teams. Let's talk about some of the other teams across the state, and some of those players that are out there. And since we talked about goalkeepers last, let's start with goalkeepers first this time.
Okay.
Who are some of the goalkeepers that really stood out for you guys? And I know their names if you only know the
Sure, yeah. One that really sticks out to me was the goalkeeper from Pierre. I'm trying to remember her name.
The goalkeeper is Mackenzie Rath.
Mackenzie Rath, yeah. And, the thing that stuck out to me is she played so high, and so everything because the back four for Pierre plays an offside strap really well. So if anything ever snuck past, she was out there and she just ate it up right away. And she's so athletic, so she was able to get there really quick. Another thing I remember is her drop kick. It was so much of an offensive weapon, because as soon as she would pick up the ball, she would boot it right up to the top, and those Pierre girls, those top three, would just take off, and they were fast. So they had a lot of speed. So she was an offensive weapon for them.
She really was. And we got to watch her last year in the JV, and we're really impressed with her there. And then Pierre was up playing Aberdeen, and Kayla Rounds, their goalkeeper, was injured.
Sure.
And Mackenzie stepped in.
She stepped in, okay.
And she was an 8th grader last year.
Sure.
So it means she's just a freshman this year playing starting
She didn't
varsity.
look like a freshman.
I know. She doesn't play like a
both
freshman.
her physical,
Presence.
her physical presence, and then just the way she played, she didn't play like a freshman. So.
Well, we don't have any stats for her. I wish we did, but she did have them.
And I agree with him, though. As I looked at the goalkeepers across the state, I watched that game, and we didn't actually play Pierre, but I watched her, and I know her from ODP. What a presence she was back there. He's absolutely right. She just, cleaned up everything that got behind their back line, and just her size and her ability to strike balls is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and at halftime of that game, we had to talk to our back four about her as, how much of a weapon her drop kick was.
Yeah.
And we had to, make sure we won every 50-50 ball that she was booting down our way. So, the game that I saw, I was impressed with her.
She did a nice job. And I think we can just expect that to continue to grow as a freshman. And I think if I were a college coach out there looking for goalkeepers, I'd be looking in South Dakota. We have a gold mine of goalkeepers here. We talked about both your goalkeepers, very solid. Mackenzie Rath, and then coming in from the stats that we do have at the top of the heap is another freshman, Jillian Barkas of O'Gorman.
Yep.
And you probably still a little sensitive about that.
No, she's a great player.
She's a great player.
Yeah, she's
you guys
well deserved.
Yeah.
I can talk about her. She's again, she's very much a presence in the goal. She makes great reaction saves. She does her job. She makes saves,
Yeah.
and she makes it kind of look easy sometimes. But she's just a savvy player, and I'm really happy for her, and she's had a great year.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of she's one of several young goalkeepers in the state too.
A freshman, she had 5 shutouts this year,
Yeah.
and then of course she made those PK saves.
Right.
Well, and one thing that I noticed watching your guys' game the other night is just how much of command of the defense she was.
Right.
She was telling everyone where they needed to be, and she was communicating so well. And as a freshman to do that, was very impressive. Not only that, of course, she made some amazing saves, and I didn't see the PK saves, but I heard they were pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
She's very much command style, and she projects her voice over the field. So there's a lot of organization that she's doing, which is just really nice to see.
She stays calm back there, and she just has that presence.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And for freshmen, obviously she set the bar high for herself.
Yeah.
She's got a few years that we're gonna have to see what happens. She's just really that kind of player. Another good goalkeeper that you got to see that you didn't was Malia Richter for Stevens.
Yep.
Very
solid goalkeeper.
Stevens came out at the top of the heat, number 1.
Right.
Didn't work out, but they're going to be in Mitchell on Saturday. But she obviously had some good saves. Early on, I had the stats. I think through their first 10 games, and she had allowed just 0.6 goals.
Wow.
Jeez.
Allowed. It's less than a goal, a little over half a goal a game.
Yeah.
And these a lot of times, the goalkeeper stats. You think you want to see a lot of saves, and you actually don't want to see a lot of saves as a goalkeeper. So, you're really talking about, are they doing their job with, like you said, with Jillian, organizing their team, kind of helping their team prevent shots.
Yep.
And that's really kind of a sign that I look for too, and I think she did a really nice job of that with the team that she had. So.
Yeah, that it is not just the goalkeepers;
No.
it's the people in front of them.
Yeah, I think Madison Cordy from Aberdeen was another one.
Yep.
That was, at least in the game that I saw against us. She was very much in command of the defense, and there were some tough shots that we took against her, and corner kicks where we had opportunities, and she was very solid back there. So
Yeah, it seems like every year there's a team that is plagued with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
There's one team, and this year, unfortunately for Aberdeen, it seemed to be them. They probably should have finished higher in the standings than they did, but missed some key players due to injuries, and because of missing some of those key offensive players. Madison Cordy was taking a lot more
Maybe
shots
seeing the ball a little bit more.
seeing a little more than they would have. But still, 87% save percentage, not too shabby.
No, and I think speaking of that, when you talk about key injuries, you got to think about the Roosevelt situation with Tamika Anderson going out, and then having a goalkeeper step in and fill basically big shoes. And Madison Waltman did a really noble job in there, and was very solid for them to finish out the year. So it gave her a lot of great experience.
It did.
Obviously, when you come in for a senior in her last season, I hated it for Tamika, but kudos to Waltman for sticking in there.
Yeah, that just makes you
doing the job.
Kind of feel a little sick to your stomach. And Madison, she actually was pulled up from the JV, so I don't even have her information on my rosters that are varsity rosters only, but I think she's a young goalkeeper too.
She's a young goalkeeper. I think she's a sophomore.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yep.
And we talked about Kiana being in there with her 87% goal, 87% save percentage, and then one of the players that's going to be in Mitchell on Saturday, Teresa Wilhelmine from Rapid City Central, another good goalkeeper. Now you played them.
Yeah, we played them. I don't remember us testing her a whole lot, so I don't really have. I mean, we actually, we had some shots, but she's a very nice goalie, and I think she's going to do just fine in that championship. So.
Well, and they're another team, just like both your teams, that seem to get better as the season progresses.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
And you saw them earlier in the season.
Yep. It's a little too much of them.
Oh yeah. Still haven't forgot that one yet, have you? And of course, down at Yankton, Haley Schild played for a big portion, most of the season, and was doing pretty darn well for Yankton. Then she got hurt, and Amanda Grafholt, one of their central defenders, had to step in and play in the goal. Amanda had a great season.
Yeah, she did.
Half season in the goal.
Right.
So it was.
You have to do what the team needs,
Yeah.
It's nice when a player will step into that spot when they're needed.
Yeah.
That they're putting the team's interest before their own. So.
Yeah. And I was surprised when I saw Amanda in the goal when they came up, and played Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And she did tell me that she had goalkeeping experience. She used to play when she was U12.
Yeah.
So. That counts for something.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the attacking players. And I wish we had stats for defensive players, and we will try and get that for next year. Figure out a way to track those as long as people do a great job on the offensive stats. Because we know that there's those unsung heroes that are out there saving goals and are important. So let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about offensive players.
Rep the 605 with Soccer 605 apparel from our clothing partner, Dakota Lettering. Just click on the store banner on the Soccer 605 website to see a wide variety of style and colors. Want more options? Visit the store for an almost unlimited variety. Soccer 605 Clothing. Represent.
Welcome back. We're talking AA Girls High School Soccer. It's time to talk about offensive players and around the state. Who are some of the players that your defense was really looking forward to being challenged by this year?
I'm going to struggle remembering names, but the one player that we almost had to spend some time designing a defense around was Katie Nielsen.
Katie Nielsen from Pierre?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about her, and I just heard about some of the games that she had, and my parents still live in Pierre, so they had seen her play a couple times, and they were kind of telling me I need to watch her a little bit.
You had your scouts out
a little bit. Yeah, they were right. Yeah, and so we kind of had a girl shadow her the entire game, and she just, she ended up getting the penalty kick at the end against us, but she's just a great player. She's so quick, and she's just a ball hawk. I mean, she gets the ball at her feet, and there were even times and the girls know this because obviously they were there, but I actually brought a Pierre shirt to practice, and I pretended to be Katie Nielsen because somebody had to be her at our practice because
they told me you practiced with them before.
Yeah,
I
did. I had to. Yeah. So I did my best to emulate her, but I don't think I did a good enough job. But yeah, she's a great player.
She's very relentless.
Yeah.
And someone you have to.
And obviously with the stats that she had this year,
we haven't got all her stats in, but I know that they're going to be good when they do come in. Hopefully we'll get those. How about for your girls?
The most recent game, Teresa Pujato was in the midfield,
yes,
but Weidler up top. Alyssa Weidler, she is definitely somebody you got to keep your eye on. I mean, she's just a super quick player, and she's got a heck of a shot. Izzy Hedge for Norman scored a lot of goals from flank position. Pujato's a danger from distance. I mean, just looking on your list, Madison Sullivan might be the fastest player that we face all year as a forward, and she's just especially dangerous.
And of course, she plays for Rapid City Central.
And I didn't really, Rapid City Central, and I wasn't really aware of her until the conclusion of the game, unfortunately. The first half I was, but
the first half you figured it out pretty quick. With she had 6 shots on goal on you guys. She wound up with 3.36 points per game average.
I'm not surprised. It probably could have been more.
15 goals.
Yeah.
For the regular season. None of these stats that we have include postseason. These are just regular season stats. Another player that I don't think either of you got to see. Did you play Mitchell?
Yep.
Oh, you did. So you got to see Kayla Stanglin.
I probably don't remember exactly which player she was, but I do remember there was one particular player on Mitchell that we had to keep an eye on, and I'm sure that was probably her.
She's wearing the number 18 shirt. She was their leading goal scorer, and she has 30 points for the season.
Wow, that's amazing.
And when you think about it, there's not a lot of other true soccer players. When you talk about true soccer players, those that play year-round on the Mitchell team. So those that are that play soccer as their only sport, basically, really have their work cut out for them. And Kayla's one of those. She averaged over 4 shots a game.
Oh my goodness.
Pretty darn good.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, another one that, just looking at your list too, would be Brianna Benjamin for Yankton. I think she scored probably in the first 10 minutes against us. And my assistant coach, Erica Klein, was a Yankton graduate. And she told, we knew about her going to the game, but I didn't really understand her speed until we saw it on the field. And she's
quick.
very quick, very fast. She finished well, you know.
Yeah.
She's a good player. So.
She's a bulldog.
Yeah.
She's crafty when she gets the ball. She works hard without the ball, so she's going to create her own chances just by being around the ball.
Yep.
And based on the stats that we have, she had 46 shots on goal.
That doesn't surprise me.
In 11 games. Madison Sullivan had 53. So, you know, it really starts to become obvious how important the number of shots on goal are. It really is a numbers game.
Yeah, it is.
If you're not getting those shots off on goal, I mean, it'd be great if you can take one shot and get a goal every game, be 100%, but that's not usually how it works.
Right.
So.
And I don't remember any of the names for the girls on Washington, but the speed on Washington was probably some of the best that I had seen of any teams that we played. I mean, we were just trying to hold on to them in the hope that they didn't, you know, outrun us the whole game. I mean, they were just so fast on the wings.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really remember their names.
Skylar Mullen, I mean, watching your game, she really was giving you guys some fits.
Yep.
Yeah. Megan Ettram.
There was a lefty. Would that have been Skylar? There was a lefty that played
playing
in
on the left.
Okay.
Yeah.
She seemed very solid with her left foot. But
yeah, she's solid.
I think it was probably Skylar.
Sure.
Then you got Aaron Thompson over there on the right-hand side. So.
Yeah, they were just so fast, speed-wise.
Yeah. And then they have Peyton Stenzel, and I don't have their stats. I know I did get them, but they're not in the database yet.
They scored a lot of goals this year. Yeah.
Peyton Stenzel is a really good distributor.
She's a good target forward.
Yeah, she's really a good target forward. They kind of changed things up, took her out of the center, middle of the field, and put her up there in as a target forward, so she could serve the ball out. So she's a great one.
Two players that I liked for Aberdeen were Menzia. How do you say her first name?
Kenzie?
Kenzie Menzia.
Kenzie Menzia?
Yeah, Menzia, sorry. Kenzie. But she's, I mean, when we played her, she just with her speed and worked great. She's just making things happen. And then her partner up there, let's see if I got that right here, Aberdeen. Mantone.
Oh, Mantone.
Hillary Mantone.
And you know,
she
unfortunately,
didn't finish out the season.
She got injured.
Incredible little player.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You know.
And they're both young players, I think.
Yep.
Oh, Kenzie's a junior.
Yep.
And Mantone, I think, is a sophomore.
And I think when you think about Aberdeen, you think about Ali Zuger, and maybe you thought about Deborah Wills from last year. And when, you know, talking about changing the season, them missing some key players through the year, if they ever get healthy and they're still young, that they could be, again, a force to be reckoned with next year. So.
Well, and Ali Zuger is kind of the same person that serves it up. I mean, you got to expend some resources on her. To keep her from taking the shot, or
she's
get it to one of those other little fast wings.
Yeah,
so
she's doing the job of about 2 or 3 players, you know, just with her work rate.
She really does have a great work rate.
Yeah, good.
And then Alex Stevens, Sage Samley.
Yeah. I just, you know, the thing about Stevens that I remember when we played them, it just seemed like they had so many players that were attacking. They're all attacking minded, from the back to the front. And, you can't really concentrate on any one player or 2 players. I mean, they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, Sage had 8 goals for the season that we have. I don't have her last couple games in, but she's only a sophomore. One of those young players that's an impact player, and as is Lindsay Farrell from Harrisburg. You know, Harrisburg did not have. They had a tough season. But Lindsay scored 10 goals as a sophomore. So.
You know, and when I think about Harrisburg in their future, I mean, I think she is a big part of their future.
Yeah.
She's still a young player. This year, you know, I think a player that we were definitely aware of was Taylor Kelly up top.
Yes.
If you lose track of Taylor Kelly, she's going to punish you.
Yeah.
And again, just talk about a great target forward who knows her play is a little bit subtle. But she's very effective. Yes. You know, and they had a little bit of a, you know, maybe what you'd call a down year, but, you know, nothing to hang their heads about. I mean, they got very good players, and they'll eventually get there.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many teams in the AA now.
Yeah.
Only a few get to go through.
That's right.
So that's a great thing. It means everybody has to pick up their game and get better. But it also means
they're right on that cusp of maybe getting in or not getting in. So.
Yeah. And some teams are just going to get left behind. Yeah. And of course, we talked about Teresa, Mel Peltier, Izzy Hedge, and Alyssa Weidler. You know, another player that's a solid player is Megan Cohane at Rapid City Central.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember seeing Megan out there, but
sure, I saw her quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's got to be Ryan's sister, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And she's a solid player. She had a seems to be more of a defensive midfielder, but then she's on the attack as well, and she's got a few goals in this season as well. So
should be an interesting matchup in the final with the
yes,
midfield.
It will be, and she's a sophomore too.
Wow, good young players.
That's a nice segue. Let's just talk about that matchup
sure, right.
That's happening on Saturday. Let's hear from our sponsors. We'll come right back.
Don't have an ordinary Monday. Have a Burger Monday at Beef O'Brady's. Stacked high with fresh Angus and fries, just $5.49 all day. Beef O'Brady's Burger Mondays. Nobody outbeefs beefs.
Welcome back. We're here at Beef O'Brady's. Let's talk a little bit about Saturday's championship girls AA match. We have Sioux Falls O'Gorman. It's their third consecutive year in the big show.
Maybe fourth.
Maybe fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably is their fourth. Yes, it is their fourth.
Yeah.
Since high school became sanctioned, high school soccer. And then we'll have coming from West River, Rapid City Central. It'll be their first show.
Is this ever for them?
No. But you have to go back a ways.
Okay.
Back into the club earlier club days.
Yeah.
So we'll have Coach Mark Morgan, and he'll be facing off with Rapid City Central Cobblers against Coach Ryan Byer, who is 2013 Elite 11 Coach of the Year, and the Sioux Falls O'Gorman Lady Knights. What are your thoughts on the game? What are you expecting to see?
Well, I haven't had the opportunity to see Rapid City Central play, other than just seeing the box score. But obviously, I've been impressed with a lot of their results. It was kind of neat to see them, go out to Pierre, beat Pierre, play Rapid City Stevens, their rival, for the third time. They lost them twice. It's always hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. For them to win that game to go to the championship,
Do you think that's really true, or is that just a?
I do think it's true personally.
Well,
I don't know if it is true or not, but it seems to be something that always plays out.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen Rapid City Central play, but I have seen O'Gorman play, and O'Gorman is a great team. It's hard for me to imagine a team being better than a team like Lincoln O'Gorman, the teams that we saw play in the semifinals the other night. I'm sure. Obviously, Central is a great team too, but I'm excited to watch the game. So I'm going to probably give the edge to O'Gorman just because I've played them and seen them play. But who knows?
And it is being there for some of those players. This will be their 4th year being there. So.
Right.
What are your thoughts, Steve?
I think it's a really interesting kind of. In a couple ways, it's kind of an east side versus a west side of the state thing.
That's
so you
all we need is another east side, west side thing, right?
That's all we need. That's right. But that's good for the game. I mean, what it shows you is there's great players on all over the state. So I think you've got Ryan's got the pedigree. He's had multiple teams play in these games before, and so he's got the experience coaching. And Mark, it's his first year with this group, but he was with Troy Anderson at Stevens for so many years, so it's not like he's unfamiliar with championships.
He's been to a few of those.
Yeah, he's been to a few. I'd be excited for either program to win it. I think you got a lot of great players, and I think what you really do have are two of the top teams that throughout the season. So, a lot of big-time players in the game.
You're going to have Alyssa Weidler.
Yep.
Who was missed some of the season because of injury.
Yeah, missed a few games. Yep.
And she's back with a vengeance.
Right.
Who averaged 4.29 shots per game, and Madison Sullivan with 4.82, pretty close there.
Right. Exactly.
A half a shot difference. And then in the goal we'll have Rapid City Central, Teresa Wilhelmy, and of course for O'Gorman we'll have Jillian Barkis. So we'll have a senior goalkeeper and a freshman goalkeeper. It's just going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out because, I think from the stats you see both teams have very powerful offenses. But at the same time, at least I know O'Gorman has a very solid defense, very solid keeper. And if you look at some of the stats with Rapid City Central scores too, obviously they didn't give up very many goals. So, and I don't know, something's got to give. So
you gonna take a pick?
I guess I'll just have to stick with O'Gorman just because we played them. I'll go with the low-scoring game. I'll go with the 2-1 finish in regulation. How about that?
Sounds like a good one. How about you, Coach?
I think it's going to be wide open. It's the thing about playing at Mitchell. It's a big field. There's a lot of space, and you have a lot of athletic players on both teams and difference makers that can kind of get into those pockets of space and get a lot of goal. I think it's going to be. I think it'll be more than 2-1. That's what I'm going with. Yeah, I really do.
And who are you going with?
I'm going with whichever team. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say whichever team scores the most goals wins. That's what
Boy, that is a limb. Well, you do raise a really good point, though, because Central is a grass team,
Yeah.
Gorman is a turf team, and they'll be playing on grass.
Yeah.
So there's a whole other factor in there.
That's
Yeah,
true.
So the team, you're going to stick with that. The team that scores the most goals wins.
That's where I'm going. Yeah.
Okay.
He's
And
gonna
I'd
win
be
that,
happy
so.
for either group that gets it.
And I'm going to go with the team that allows the least goals.
Okay, there you go.
Both you guys got me beat then.
Thanks for joining us for this week's weekly or the season wrap-up show. Yearly, the season wrap-up show for the Girls AA and the preview for the Girls Championships on Saturday. We want to thank our sponsors and thank Beefo Brady's for hosting us. See you guys on Saturday.
Yeah,
And I'd like to thank you guys for again all your coverage of soccer. It's really, really important to the game, and it goes without saying that you guys have, worked your back ends off to make it happen. So I'm really thankful to you and Randy. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you
It only
very
works
much.
because you guys help us out. So. Thanks a lot.